So why tackle this material?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I've loved Archie all my life. I always was interested in comic books, but from an early age I started reading Archie and I never stopped. And I've been trying, and I write for Archie Comics. I write a couple of comic books for them. And I sort of teamed up with the CEO, the publisher, John Goldwater, and I said, and he and I both said, let's try to do a live action version of Archie. And I've worked for a lot of great producers over the years, like Ryan Murphy. I worked with him for 3 years on Glee, and he always said, if you're going to create a TV show, you better be obsessed with whatever you create, because you might be working on it, if you're lucky, for 7 or 10 years. And these characters truly are one of my obsessions and one of my childhood passions.
Talk about casting KJ.
Yes. We spent 6 months trying to find these kids, and KJ literally, he had auditioned for the casting director very early on, but we never saw the tape because the casting director was like, I don't know, I don't see it. And then literally the week when we were getting ready to present our Archie choices to the studio network, David said, I'm going to call KJ in again. He had been jet lagged and he had just gotten to LA from New Zealand, and he brought KJ in, and he was like, stop the presses, you have to see this kid. I think he's Archie. And I said, does he have red hair? And David was like, no, he has really dark hair. And I said, okay, well that's okay, but is he kind of all American? And he's like, no, he's from New Zealand, and he's half Samoan. And I was like, okay, let's see it. And he read the scene, and it came to life in a way that no other actor, it had come to life. And a big part of the pilot and of Archie and his DNA is that Archie can play guitar and is a musician, and KJ can play the guitar and is a musician and is phenomenal. So it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is Archie. He's Archie. So we really quickly slotted him in for the studio network, and it was completely unanimous. But we spent 6 months looking for KJ. Yeah, and truthfully, all the kids were like that. I saw Camila. I was in New York doing another project, and I said, maybe we should do a day of auditions in New York. And that's when I saw Camila, and I was like, you guys, there's this amazing girl. She hasn't even graduated yet, but she's beautiful, and she's really has a sense of this character. So, from that day, it was still months before we cast her. So all these kids really fought for these parts.
So for a while, people have known about Riverdale and had heard it's going to be Archie meets Twin Peaks, and there was a lot of skepticism about how that would work. The first screenings happened, but still, the wider world has not seen this show. What's your reaction? What's your response to critics who say that sounds weird and campy?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to. It is a hard tone to wrap your head around, because you think Twin Peaks, that's all murder and darkness and stuff like that. And I think when people hear that, their fear is, why do that with the Archie characters? If you want to do a teen Twin Peaks, why don't you create your own characters? Or why don't you just why don't you just reboot Twin Peaks with teenagers? And for me, I really think the show lives in the tension between the innocent, the wholesome, the 1950s nostalgia of Archie, and kind of the contemporary darker world. I think the show thrives in that space. I think if we had done a version of this where it was just like Saved by the Bell, people would be like, well, we saw that, it was Saved by the Bell. And I think if we did a really dark, nihilistic, R-rated version of Archie, people would be like, why did you do that with these characters that I love? So it is a needle that we're trying to thread, but I think what my experience has been, the more people see about the pilot, the more they understand the tone. And they're still surprised by it, but I think one of the surprises is how well it works.
Okay, one more question.
Why were you inspired to take it
To take it where?
in such a different direction?
Honestly, it was partly because we had success with Afterlife with Archie, which had been already out, and people so responded to that. And obviously, that's like a dark, almost like a horror alternate universe of Archie. And then honestly, the place where we first developed this was Fox, and Fox really said, you have to put your stamp on this. It can't, like when Ryan did a high school show, Glee, he really put his stamp on it. It was a musical. It had that wicked sense of humor, and it was like, well, what's the stamp on this version of it? And I always gravitate. I love mystery. I love noir. So it felt like, wow, if there's a way that could be harnessed, then I could really say this is really a new version, and it reflects kind of like all the stuff that I'm obsessed with. So it came from that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And how about Luke Perry?
Oh, I mean, Luke came in and he was Fred Andrews. He's the one person who we didn't spend months looking at. He came in, he read it. Luke has two sons. One is in high school, one's about to start college. So he absolutely kind of got that dynamic. And it's nice, the same way that I think people respond warmly to Archie, Betty, Veronica because they know them. I think people respond warmly to Luke because they grew up watching 90210, so it sort of works on the same way that Archie, Betty, Veronica does. There's a familiarity there that is a shorthand. Yeah, no, I mean he came in and was great. That was one of the easier decisions. Thank you.
Congratulations.